All right, class, we're going to finish up 5.6 in its entirety today with Ben Tillman in the dispensary. And we're gonna call it a day with this standard indicator. So, opposition to Tillman. Conservatives opposed to Tillman. We have Alexander Haskell, who was one of his leading opponents. And conservatives set up the state newspaper to oppose Tillman. Yes, that is the state as we have to this day. So, remember, journalism and newspaper people and the modern media has historically been biased. It's oftentimes got um, a political agenda in mind with all of its decisions and things that it does. All right, so keep that in mind about journalism. So the first editor was N.G. Gonzalez. All right, he attacked Ben Tillman every day in his editorials, just lambasting him with all these things, attacking his credibility and reputation. Tillman's nephew, Lieutenant Governor James Tillman, shot Gonzalez and killed him. All right, for this defamation of his uncle. All right, that's pretty interesting stuff. So let's discuss the dispensary system. Tillman's second term, during that time as governor, he opposed prohibition. So he was against the prohibition of alcohol. Prohibition being the banning or lack of availability, making it illegal to possess and consume alcohol. He created the dispensary system. All right. Only the state could sell alcohol. So, in other words, he was like, hey, instead of making alcohol illegal, why don't we use alcohol as a tax? Okay. So, only the state would be able to sell it, and people are definitely going to want to drink, and we're going to make money off of it. So, Tillman inspected the alcohol himself and graded it. And you can see there's a couple examples over here on the right of what the bottles would have looked like with the palmetto tree and things like that. But it's pretty interesting. In other words, hey, it's something that we're going to have human beings do no matter what. Even if we make it illegal, people are going to be taking part in alcohol. So why don't we make some money off of it? That was kind of his position. All right, so let's look at riots in Darlington. Yes, that's the same Darlington where the racetrack is. All right, fighting over the dispensary broke out in Darlington, South Carolina, and Tillman sent troops. Shots were fired and people were killed, unfortunately, and Darlington and Florence were declared in a state of rebellion. So basically, because of state overreach, the way the people felt, they began to riot and fight back against these state-run government dispensaries, and they had to end up putting military action out on the ground to quell the rebellion. All right. After his second term as governor of South Carolina, Tillman ran for United States Senate. So 2 terms as governor, the chief executive officer of the state of South Carolina. Then he goes to the United States Senate to represent our state. The new governor, John Gary Evans, was a Tillmanite. All right, Tillmanite. So Tillmanite, let's see what that means. The 17th Amendment, each state would have 2 senators elected by the people. All right, so now we've moved on from the original version of the Constitution and how senators were elected, because there was also like a pool of people that were eligible to elect senators. All right, and that generally came from the state General Assembly or delegation. So the people did not have a popular election for senators before the 17th Amendment. So this was the first election held since the passing of the 17th Amendment where you had a legitimate popular election, okay, like you do today. All right. So it was in his campaign for senator where Tillman threatened President Cleveland. Yes, that's Grover Cleveland. Pitchfork Ben Tillman, that was the name he got, and he was reelected for the Senate until his death in 1918. All right. So he was quite what's the word I'm looking for? Prudent politician. All right. Quite the prudent politician. Spanish-American War. This is gonna kind of bring us to a close here, wrapping up the Spanish-American War. We have a couple different reasons that we ended up being involved in the Spanish-American War as a nation, so the United States of America. One, yellow journalism, just like we learned about in the state, South Carolina state newspaper. Yellow journalism basically means dishonest journalism. It's something that's got an agenda. It's not just objective, clear-cut, no questions asked journalism and news reporting. It has a purpose. It's trying to bend the people's will. Okay. Then we have imperialism. Imperialism is where we're trying to expand Historically, the European powers, such as France and England, were more imperialist, but America was becoming so as well. Specifically in the South American continent, basically we wanted to project ourselves as a world power. So militarism comes out, and basically militarism is a scenario where we're going to dominate the world's markets, both economically and like socio-political type issues, with power projection, such as the Navy and a powerful Army and Marine Corps. And so that imperialism, while not at the same level as the European counterparts in the previous centuries, it was pretty widespread, specifically in South America. Basically, America declared that everything in the Western Hemisphere, that's North and South American continents, belongs to us. Everybody on the other side of those ponds better stay over there where they belong. All right, and we were going to enforce that through militarism as a United States world power. Okay, so remember the Maine. This is what really kicked off the Spanish-American War. At 9:40 p.m. on February 15th, 1898, the battleship USS Maine exploded in Havana Harbor. That's modern-day Cuba. Unfortunately, 268 United States Navy sailors were killed. You can see this wonderful artist rendition down here. A very violent explosion occurred in one of the forward magazines of the Maine. There really is no definite understanding of what happened, but we're kind of like 90% sure that they did not blow up the Maine, that it was an accident, even though America used the accident as an excuse to go to war. All right. So we got some important people to realize and to remember here. Theodore Roosevelt, he was the leader of the Rough Riders. So before he became president, you see him down there in that bottom right picture. He was leader of a United States Army, like a cavalry unit. Okay. They rode horses back then still. All right. We have not moved to mechanized infantry and like tank warfare yet. We're still on a horse with a carbine. That's a short rifle and doing it like men. All right. We got William Randolph Hearst. Yellow journalist, trying to spin the news stories to a particular agenda. William McKinley Jr., he was president at the time. And Commodore George Dewey, one of the most celebrated heroes of the war, basically in charge of all the different United States Navy fleets during the Spanish-American War. So South Carolina, how did our state play into this war? Troops were trained in Columbia, South Carolina, and Greenville. Troops manned the forts in Charleston Harbor, and because the war was so short, only one regiment from our state participated in the war, and actually was physically involved in kinetic activity where shots were being traded. So the war did not happen here, but we did have some South Carolinians take part in it. So the aftermath of the war, finally results in the Treaty of Paris, December 10th of 1898, ended the Spanish-American War, and Cuba went free. All right, so no longer would it be under Spain's control. The United States got the territories of Guam in the Pacific Ocean, as well as Puerto Rico in the Caribbean island area. And the Philippines would be ceded to the United States, and the U.S. agreed to pay Spain an indemnity of $20 million. So the United States became a world power. Like I said, we told everybody else, this stuff over here is ours, and the United States Navy was used to force project around the world, and we controlled the oceans, which is something the British had once done before. But basically, we were telling all the other countries to stay on your side of the pond. So, Spanish-American War. Here's where we're going to go after this. Once you've finished watching the video lecture, I want you guys to pay close attention to this, because there is a set of Google Slides attached underneath this assignment, and it's already created for you. Every one of you has your own slideshow presentation saved for you, and these are the instructions, and I'm going to give you the detailed information of it right here. So 4/8, the 8th of April, 2020 is the year. Slide presentation, classwork assignment. What I would like you guys to do is explain the plight, or in other words, the struggles of farmers, agricultural workers in South Carolina, both white and African American. All right, both, because both have their own individual story. It's important that we keep that in mind. Poor people are poor people, and the struggle bus is real, no matter who you are or what you look like. So your response Should be a minimum of 3 complete sentences. Let me fix this for you right here. I see where we've got a little bit of an error. Look at this. I can edit it right here for you in video. Hilarious, right? All right. Your response should be a minimum of 3 complete sentences or bullets. I'll let you write it in bullet format, but they still have to be complete sentences per slide. All right, for a total of 5 slides. And you'll see it on there. I've already created all 5 of them for you. So there's a total of 6. There's one here like this with the instructions, and then there's 5 blank ones that already have the header up there for you. All right, 1 slide per subtopic, and you can see the 5 subtopics listed below. So I provided those 5 blank slides. Feel free to customize them any way you see fit, but I want the minimum of 3 complete sentences per slide, okay, per slide. So here we are, where you're going to discuss the system that kept farmers in South Carolina, both white and black, okay, what kept them in constant debt. All right. Number 2, natural disasters. How did natural disasters affect these farmers? And 3, competition with one another and larger farming plantation type setups. How were they in competition with them and with each other, and how did it affect them? Number 4, the government's response. What type of programs did the government institute? What type of things was the government doing? How are they being taxed? All that kind of stuff. Whatever. It's all fair game. How did the government affect these farmers? And finally, groups formed to help farmers. There's some unions and stuff we talked about earlier, all right? And things that, organizations that represented farmers. They're in this very same slideshow. And you've got the book totally available to you as well. Do not forget that online textbook. Go to the chapter that we're in and look it up, all right? Feel free to use Google, all right? But make sure you're searching appropriately, okay? So that's the details. 5 slides. Make sure you hit all of the subtopics. 3 sentences per. You can do them in bullets, but they gotta be complete sentences. All right, guys. Y'all take care. Have a great Wednesday. Hope this finds you well, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys on a Zoom meeting tomorrow. I believe I scheduled it for 11 a.m. All right, ladies and gentlemen, y'all take care.